I always have to let you know. Right, there we go. So the session has now started recording again, Daniel. If you could let me know whether that's come up okay.
Yeah, it's come up fine. Yeah.
Great. Okay, amazing. So this recording is part of the communication masterclass, of which we are going to look ahead at the professional discussion and the content. And we're going to use this recording to map in not just the answers, but your understanding again against knowledge, skills, and behaviour. So it allows you to expand on any of these and give examples. So from an endpoint assessment perspective, it's really useful. So we're not just typing up the answers. I'm going to listen back to this discussion later on and mapping more information against your learning and your next formal review as well. So firstly, it's got discuss an occasion where you have given challenging and constructive feedback to a team member. So my first question is, Daniel, is can you think of an example?
Yeah, so I've got one of the supervisors on site. He was having some family problems outside of work, which was challenging for himself. And I just asked on how I could support him and how we could accommodate, but also so that the job was still being done. I gave him some constructive feedback to help him through these times. And what I did was I assigned him a certain amount of time per day where he could ring his father lives in a different country, and he was ringing Spain at a certain time. So I allowed him to have this set time away from work to allow him to speak to his dad, and in the same time we made sure that the work was being completed, so he was that was taken care of, which then in his time when he was working he was focused and concentrating on the job in hand.
Yeah, excellent. That's really good kind of leadership and man management, Daniel, as well. You've recognised that that's important to him to have that. And if you hadn't given them that time, he might be spending all of his working hours thinking, what's going on. I need to know what's happening elsewhere. And his mind might not have been on the job. So you've recognised that, accommodated the needs of the business, and accommodate his personal needs as well. Yep. So he's still able to get the job done. So in terms of interpersonal skills, that's going to be planning, organisation, understanding and accommodating the needs of the business and individuals, communication, time on shift for personal reasons, and you can expand on that, Daniel. It's just I'll put a note there so we know what to expand on.
Yep.
So what interpersonal skills did you use? Planning, organisation, understanding and accommodating needs of the business and individuals, communication. So role modelling, setting a fair, consistent example. So I'm guessing this is the kind of thing that you would do for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So there has been other examples of it. It's just that's the one that I chose to do, and people know that what I'll do for one, I'll do for everyone, and also the same goes if there's something that someone's not allowed to do, I make sure that that's across the board as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't favour people who's been on the job for longer, who I've known for longer. Just make sure it's equal across the board.
Quality and inclusive.
Yeah.
So building relationships and rapport with everybody as well. So it's understanding what's important to the person, not just a member of staff. So the human element, basically. So the human element.
Exactly that.
And that hopefully the response that you get from that is continued, proactiveness from the member of staff.
The respect back that you allow me to do this, so in turn I'll you get the respect back, you get same favours. I'm a big believer. So I use a role model from previous operations manager that I had, and he very much believed in, if you do me a favour, I'll do you a favour, and I had a very good relationship with that. So when I went into management, I used exactly the same approach because I found that it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll touch upon this a little bit more actually in the next unit, Daniel, as well, and leading people and more building relationships. So there's some theories. So there's a theory called a hierarchy of needs. It's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where basically it makes you, in tune with people. It allows you to identify and recognize what's important to them, what motivates them as a person, why do they come into work. Is it because of the money? Is it because they want to feel part of a team? Is it because it's 2 minutes down the road and it's convenient? What's the reason? There'll be certain elements to that, and once you understand what how people tick basically, and what motivates them as an individual, it helps you manage and lead them as a member of staff. So again, you can tailor your approach. So all of this is going to be quite useful for not only this unit, but also the next unit as well. Okay. So what actions did you take to ensure you actively listened? So my first question, I guess, is, Daniel, is what's your understanding of active listening?
So active listen is to not interrupt, to listen carefully to what the person's saying, and I also note take a lot of the time as well, just so that I can refer back to it, and just in case I've missed anything. Yeah,
absolutely. So just like we're doing now, we're conversing. So we'll both ask questions. We're both and what we might technically it is face to face, even though it's on Teams. But we'll both make points, and we're both kind of gesticulating and nodding to say, yeah, we're giving signs and notices that we're understanding and that we're listening all the time. The note taking is a really good practice as well, I would say, because it allows you to understand what a problem is. So your example of the member of staff that you dealt with, that first interaction where you might have been made aware of that. Any note taking, you might have looked back at that and thought, you might have to weigh up a situation. It might not be always the case that you can make a split-second decision.
Yep.
You might have to weigh things up and make a more informed decision, whereby note taking, it allows you to make a more informed decision, and of course it allows you to maybe think about how you can help them to the best of your ability, or whether you need to get other people involved, for example.
Yeah. So I've got a diary at work, and on a daily diary I'll write down sort of any issues I've been dealing with that day. So I've got a DOB as well, obviously a daily occurrence, but I've got a personal diary that I use myself, and I jot down things in the day, so that what I find, if you've got situations where, for example, that gentleman was on his mind was elsewhere because of the family issue, what I can do is if I look back at the dates where I've input these situations into the diary, I can look for patterns, I can look for sort of triggers of what happened on the days leading up to that, not just in this situation, but in other situations. Look for patterns and look for what happened in the days leading up to that, and see that if it's happened before, how did I deal with it last time? And then I can see if I dealt with it the right way, the wrong way, and I can adapt accordingly.
Using notes. And what did you call it? The daily occurrence book?
No, so it's just a diary.
DOB.
Yeah, so it's a diary that I have. The DO, you could use diary and DOB, because I would look at, so that's more so if someone's mind's not in the right place, we can look for I get the KPI figures a lot of it from the DOB, so I can see patrols are being missed, why they're being missed, is there a pattern as well. So yeah, I can use that as an example as well.
That's it. So all of these notes are almost kind of a performance management techniques to manage both team and individuals, so that you can then address that in performance reviews or one-to-ones or professional discussions. So you can earmark these things and discuss, this is what's happening, why is it happening, this is what we're going to do, so you can create strategy and tactics to overcome that, and allocate resources accordingly to overcome that. It might be things where you might then put staff on like personal development plans and say, in the next month I'd like you to go away and work on this and this, and if you look at this resource or read this book or read this document, then that might give you some insight into that, and then in a month's time we'll come back and we'll discuss it and move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a valuable document, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's good. It helps me quite considerably.
Again, from a building relationships and rapport perspective, Daniel, as well, it allows you to note take kind of things that are vitally important to people, because again, the more you learn about people, the more you can kind of manage and tailor your approach to that member of staff. So we've spoken before, haven't we? We've tried to build our relationship whereby that I've got a daughter, or I know that you were on holiday last month, and all of this kind of stuff. So it means that in the next session when you came back, we can say, how's the holiday? Hope you had a great time, enjoyed the family time, and it stuff like that. It's small details, but it can make a big difference with team building.
Builds a good personal bond, so therefore you feel more open to speak, and therefore in turn you get more at the sessions.
Yeah, indeed. So there's a term called rapport equals trust plus comfort. So the more trust you can build with people, the more comfortable they're going to feel, and the more responsive they're going to be, and hopefully productive as well when it comes to a working environment. But what you mentioned earlier, from a respect point of view as well, everybody knows that you work hard. Everybody knows that everybody would receive the same treatment in that scenario. So there's no bias. There's no kind of somebody else saying, why are they getting to make phone calls in work hours. Everybody knows that it's fair and consistent.
Yep.
Okay. Next one is, what other colleagues' views did you seek in order for your feedback to be balanced and fair?
Is this using the same example?
You can use the same example potentially. So if you got your line manager involved, for example, or there was another member of staff who they were particularly close with, and you might have said, look, it's how do you think they would react to this approach, or whatever it might be?
Yeah, so what I did, I asked my account manager, I said, this particular gentleman is going through this at the moment. This is the plan that I've put in place. Is there anything you'd like to add, or am I okay to do this? And he agreed, and also with the other members of the team, so that they didn't feel done by, that it was unfair. I also made sure that they had the same time away from work, and I stepped into that position and did their job so that it was equal across the board.
Amazing. So account manager for feedback and opinion. So you use very much almost a democratic leadership style approach to engage different people's opinions before making a more informed, well-rounded decision. To gauge opinion and make more informed decision, which you were authorised to do. So another example, Daniel, might be if something was to come about whereby you maybe didn't have the authorization or knowledge to to make that happen. You might have had to go to the your line manager and say, look, can I get authorization for this, or whatever it might be. Okay, so what are the colleagues' views? So we can say, the account director, and you can expand on that a little bit. Again, all I'm going to do is just note take at this point, Daniel, of what we're speaking about, and then you can expand on those bits as just like you did last time with the written.
Yeah.
And then we'll use that written example to within the discussion. How did you ensure that you valued diversity in the colleagues that you chose? So we've already mentioned there's no bias towards everyone. So there is no bias within the team. So we can also put through self-reflective practice, we can also ensure that there is no unconscious bias. Also,
yeah, because that's sometimes you can, yeah, as you say, if you ask for feedback, you can maybe, like, if you didn't ask for feedback, you could miss unconscious bias, because you could be, something could happen without your knowledge.
That's it. So that's self-reflective practice. So again, so you can consider things like Kolb, reflective model. How did you ensure that you've valued diversity in the colleagues you showed? Yeah, so there's no. So you can say it's always based on best practice. I'd say, Daniel, as well. So generally, if something happens, or you need to know the answer to a question, generally you're going to choose the most experienced people that are going to give you the best, most thorough, well-rounded answer to that question.
Especially if it's more tailor suited to this. So if it was, say, an emergency procedure or something like that, and you knew that someone on the site was fire trained, or example, you could ask their opinion on this situation because they've got a greater knowledge.
So I guess what we're saying is that no one's discriminated against.
Exactly.
That it's based on best practice, and it's based on the fact that if you've got 10 members of staff and you know that 5 of them are really knowledgeable on one area, and you want to find something out, the chances are you're going to ask those 5 people, and maybe not so much the other 5 people.
But then you can also educate the other people as well at the same time to make it fair.
You can, and it's the practice will be whereby that everybody realises and has and gets educated, I guess is the right phrase, and the fact that there isn't discrimination there. I'm asking them because they're more experienced, so it makes sense for us to do that.
Yep.
So we're considering diversity, but also no discrimination. Can't type, Daniel.
It's all right.
It's been a long day, mate.
Am I okay to just hit the toilet while typing this?
Please do, mate. Yeah. Consider diversity. No discrimination.
I am back.
Yeah, that's it. So how did you ensure that you valued diversity in the colleagues that you chose? Well, it wasn't done with any bias or unconscious bias. It was based on the needs of the business and what you needed to know. And I've just typed up the example there.
Yeah.
Okay. Daniel, discuss an occasion where you have chaired a team meeting or presented.
So recently we've updated the ammonia plans on site that security have part responsibility for, and I've done team meetings in the teams on site. So I've done 4 over the 4 shift patterns, and I've sat down and give a presentation on the ammonia alarm, and then gone through a practice run of the ammonia procedure to make sure that everyone was comfortable with it.
On this. Understanding of the process.
Yep.
There different roles within that, Daniel, as well, so they knew
There
what
is,
everybody knew what their individual roles would be.
yeah, so it's dependent on where you're located at the time of the alarm, because we have a rota pattern where you move from one post to another post. So depending where you are, depends on your role. It's pretty straightforward, but because we're obviously not ammonia trained, but from a security point of view, just to make sure it's aware.
So in terms of, I guess similar to if you were to do like a mock fire drill, then.
Yeah.
So almost monthly. So next month you might then do another mock drill, but change the positions around so everybody gets exposed to doing different roles.
Yeah. So we do that monthly. We make sure that the ammonia and fire drills are done monthly for within the team.
Yeah, got to keep that fire log up to date.
Yeah. Make sure that everyone's comfortable, because if you some people you show once and they get it straight away. Others you will show them and they'll understand it then, and in 3 weeks they'll oh, what do I do there? How do I do this? So giving it refreshers every month, it keeps people
That's it.
Up to date.
So I'm just going to put it's vital that the training is comprehensive and inclusive.
Yeah. Because you've got different skill sets of different officers and different learning styles, behaviour styles as well.
Skill sets, styles, behaviours. Yeah, excellent. Recently, we have updated the plans on site. Oh, what was it for, Daniel? Sorry.
Ammonia procedure plan.
Procedure plan. Okay, cool. So have we answered that? Discuss an occasion where you've chaired a meeting or presented. Yeah. So that's what you did. So again, you can describe the setting of the meeting, who was involved. Was this face to face with all the staff?
Yeah, so we did it in separate teams. I did a PowerPoint presentation.
Amazing.
So that people who saw better through reading, I could send them a copy of it, and then the others who did a physical example walk around, they learned from that. So it covered all learning styles.
Yeah, amazing. This is like an extra one, Daniel. So how did you give everyone in the groups opportunity to be involved and give feedback. That's actually a question from the team leader qualification.
Yeah.
Which is another one similar to this.
Yeah, so how I give everyone in the group's opportunity to be involved and give feedback. So at the end of every sector, I pause the presentation and ask, has anyone any questions? Has anyone any feedback? And then answered the questions if there was any and moved on to the next segment.
Yeah, excellent. Did you send like an agenda of this meeting out to everybody, Daniel,
Yeah,
so everybody knew what to expect?
Afterwards, I sent the link to the PowerPoint to everyone so they could go back and read through it.
Go through afterwards. Yeah, excellent. Which kind of answers the next question. What different forms of communication did you adopt? So verbal face-to-face, verbal face-to-face. You so I guess digital.
Yeah, digital emails, yeah.
Digital
and the
online.
Presentation was digital as well, yeah.
The presentation on PowerPoint.
Yep.
So I guess written communication.
Yep, written communication as well. Because once everyone had understood and got comfortable with the PowerPoint, they then had to read through some terms and conditions and sign off as trained as well.
Yeah. Now I'm also going to put in, because I'm guessing, as well as verbal face-to-face, when you stood in front of everybody and delivered it.
Yep. Body language.
You used verbal, but also non-verbal.
Verbal, body language, and
yeah, exactly. So for all of these, I'd mention why it was important to accommodate different learning styles. You could also say why you might use different forms of communication with different people, different situations, and also different timelines.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the level of communication or the chosen form of style of communication can be different. It might be exactly the same thing or information that you need to communicate. However, if you need to do it right now,
you've
it's
not
urgent
to throw up a PowerPoint and everything. You just have to. So, yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah.
In what ways were these forms of communication effective? So that okay. So we kind of preempted the next question. Yeah. Give examples of how your style of communication was flexible and you adapted to meet the needs of the audience. Okay, so we kind of preempted that question as well.
Yeah, different learning styles and different methods of.
Yeah. Analyze potential barriers to communication and how you can overcome these. So barriers to communication. So potentially it might be
language barriers.
Barriers. Anybody with English as a second language, for example.
Yeah, which I have. I've got a very diverse team. What I did with the site safety instructions, which is just the general site safety instructions if someone's coming onto site, I selected different members of the team who was a different nationality, and they wrote the site safety instructions in their own language. And this was a win-win situation, because they understood. I could check that they understood the site rules themselves, but also if we had any foreign national drivers or any visitors coming onto site, they was also getting it from a native respect, rather than say Google Translate or something.
And that's it, because that's a potential risk as well. So you've managed to identify a risk that actually sometimes even through like Google Translate, things can be lost in translation.
Yep.
And so for their own health and safety, I guess, and for those around it, and for a standardization point of view for quality, it's important they have a full and concise understanding.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So analyze potential barriers to communication and how you can overcome these. So I've put language barriers. I've also put potential additional learning needs like dyslexia, hearing or sight impairment.
Yep. We do have a gentleman who's got sight impairment.
Yeah. So I was in a building down in London working with a security team last week. And just before, I've started noticing this around like everywhere now. And just before, at the bottom of the stairs and at the top of the stairs, rather than having like normal smooth tiles,
change to let to let them know that they're coming to a stairs.
That's it. I never knew, and it seems so obvious when they pointed it out.
Yeah.
And then you start to see it everywhere, like in the London Underground, like before escalators, like all of these things.
Crossings of roads, they have the little knobbles before you hit it, so they know that they're coming to a crossing.
Yeah. Potential language barriers. So I would say you can also consider potential risks, i.e. not understanding.
Yep.
So planning and monitoring these. So you can plan for them the best way you can, and then you can monitor that throughout as well, throughout the execution phase of the presentation. So is everybody understanding? And hopefully hopefully they all did and it went to plan. Yeah. And then again, from a reflective point of view, you can then think, oh, that worked quite well for that, so we can use that next time as well.
Exactly.
So again, it's
not to use certain things that you think didn't go down well.
That's it. There's often a focus where to just focus on, what didn't go well or what could we change next time, when actually what we should be looking at is what went well. How can we use that in other things? How can we use that next time as well? So language barriers. Okay, so that'll be the first unit. Daniel, are you happy with all of that?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. As I say, I'll send, once we've finished, I'll send these notes over, and you can then expand on all of those bits, type up all your answers, and then we can use that for the discussion. Okay. Next one will be describe 2 occasions. One, when you have worked collaboratively within your organization, and one, when you have worked with external partners.
Yep. So
firstly, let's think of the examples.
Yeah. So the two occasions. So one occasion is working where it's external partners. So one of the floors of the building where we're working is rented out to a third-party company that obviously doesn't work for the client that we work for, and we accommodate in the respect of we don't deal with them directly, but we have a duty as we work for essentially the landlord. So we still deal with the parcels, the mail, any incident reporting that needs doing. Also, they have sort of big conferences where multiple people will come off site that are also never been to site before, and we make sure that they understand the site safety rules, that they're accommodated for in respect to using the canteen areas, because we have a cashless site, so we do that before they come on site, so that inclusion is they can still access the facilities even though they're not members of the organisation.
Yep. Excellent. I think I got most of that down, Daniel. I was trying to type away furiously.
Yeah, the main points are all that's needed.
So the third party company that works on one of the floors, they're not effectively your business. They don't work for the client that you work for. However, because they're in the same vicinity, the same building, you have to liaise with them on probably things like fire safety,
exactly,
health and safety points. If you or them are going to introduce any kind of unauthorized personnel onto site, you're both going to have to probably know about it. If they're having conferences, when you're going to be running fire drills, things like that, I'd imagine you have to liaise with them on, so everybody's kept informed.
Yep.
Excellent. Really good example. Okay. And the other one is when you've worked collaboratively within your organization. So, I mean, that could be absolutely anything. So
so with the example I used before about the ammonia procedure and rolling that out for everybody. Also, we do sort of raffles, you know, so like we just recently had a Valentine's raffle where security being the main point of contact on site, we actively get involved and encourage it, and it also helps with building relationships throughout all the teams on site, team building.
Yeah. Team building, communications, project management. I'm going to put culture on site, Daniel, as well. This can refer to the first example as well. So even though you might be a different company, it's nice to have that, you know, really positive, nice working environment. So it's a nice site for everybody to go to work. You might not be working directly with these people, but you have to share a building. So it's nice to get on, if possible. Culture of working environment, building environment. Okay, so those are the two examples, good examples. How did you build trust and effective relationships?
So ultimately, with external and internal clients, first of all, one of the first questions I ask is if I can help, let me know, and I'll also go above and beyond to I'll make sure that I introduce myself. That as you said before, when we share relations, so you share with me about your daughter, I share you going on holiday. I have these kinds of, I try and find a common ground and communicate on that level so that they feel comfortable that if they need anything, they can come directly to myself or the security team.
Yep. So how did you build trust and effective relationships? Well, through rapport, through ongoing quality communication, meetings, discussions, understanding how you can help them, and allowing them to see how they can help you. Understanding what motivates them,
You're still there, it's froze, I think. Are you back? Your mic's gone off.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
There we go. There we go. That's better. Okay, so this kind of covers what we were talking about before. So understanding what motivates people, what's important to people and their operations. So certainly from an external point of view, it's learning their operations and policies. Because again, even though you might not have to work with them, you have to work in the same building. So their health and safety policy for their company might be different to what your health and safety company policy is. However, both of them are going to need to meet the needs of the site.
Yeah, and we have multiple, because we have a third party that rents that floor. We've got ourselves as Bidvest Noonan that are working for the client, and then they rent the space off the client. So there's three parties, like you said, that we have to interact.
Okay, so their needs analysis might be slightly different again. So how they gain access to the building might be slightly different, or their needs might be different to how your guys might need to access the building.
Their access is restricted, and to obviously what they need. They don't want to be wandered into their workspace and vice versa. They don't want to be disturbed.
Yeah, that's really good, Daniel. You can talk about that. How did you build trust and effective relationships? So like we do with a lot of things, we ask lots of questions, we find out about who it is that we're with. To then accommodate their needs, fit our own company values. Culture. Yeah. And then a continuation of that as well, Daniel. So it's not just getting to know people in the immediate, but it's ongoing. So you might well have a monthly meeting with somebody from that other company or somebody from the site, just to give feedback, and this is what's happening. This is what's happened last month. This is what's going on for us next month, so everybody's aware, etc.
Yeah, we do that. So we have monthly meetings, and then also we've got email communication, because they have stock going on and off site. Because a lot of the colleagues are remote based, so they sort of give me an email receipt to say this is leaving site on this day, and then also when they have the conferences, they let me know in advance with a list of names, so I can tick them off as like a register.
Excellent.
For fire safety.
It sounds incredibly organised, Daniel.
I prefer it that way. I don't like being there. I ask that everyone liaise with me in advance, so then we're not caught out. For instance, I've just assigned 25 cards before I've left today, and I've sent a video to the gentleman who's going to be dealing with it, so he knows exactly where they are and explain the situation, so that he's comfortable when he comes in Saturday morning and Monday morning. Them cards are for that situation, this is for that, and they're all assigned to the correct people.
Excellent. Okay, next is, what good practice did you identify and how was this shared? Yes. So open and ongoing communication.
Yeah, monthly meetings to make sure that we're on top of it, and it's shared via these monthly meetings by emails, so that communication is key and that we all understand what's going on, so there's no question marks.
Everyone is informed information shared is accurate, so everyone can make informed decisions. Just like you said, these guys kind of inform you when things are leaving. You basically let everybody know what's going on.
Exactly, that's it. Basically, yeah. Communication.
Okay, next, describe an occasion when you have used effective negotiation and influencing skills and shown determination to manage a conflict. Okay, there's quite a lot there, Daniel. So let's break it down.
Yeah. Is this within the team or is this any situation?
I'd say any situation.
Yeah.
However, what I would suggest, again, thinking forward to the end of the course, if we can use one example, it's going to be more beneficial, because then at the end of the course, when you get asked about it, you only need to remember one example.
Yeah. So
if there are multiple examples, then that's all good.
No, yeah, I just wanted to know whether it was this was an example of where I've negotiated and used my influencing skills with a member of the security team, or whether I've done it in a different scenario, still in work, but with an external.
Yeah.
So the example that I'll give is that there was a gentleman come on site who was suspected was under the influence of alcohol. It was quite apparent.
Okay.
So I liaised with the security team and I give them all set roles of what to do in this situation. We used site knowledge that the driver would hand in his key because it's site procedure. And once he did that, we then secured the key so that he couldn't drive away. And there was a plan in place. Certain officers spoke with this gentleman and kept him busy while others rang the police. And then we used negotiation and influence skills to manage the conflict to make sure that it didn't escalate into something serious, i.e. him kicking off or trying to escape from the site in his wagon.
Okay, so I'm going to put down collaboration techniques.
Yep. Everyone has their own role.
And mediation. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully you don't have to do that too much, Daniel, but
it's quite often. It's not, well, unfortunately, not that situation, but there's a lot of different situations.
Conflict resolution, whether that's a client or a customer or a member of staff, or if it's between two members of staff that you need to deal with.
Yeah, that's usually the most frequent one is the member of staffs, a gentleman who spend 12 hours a day with each other. But a lot of the time they see the colleagues more than they see their own wives. They can feel just a bit hard done by sometimes. For no reason.
Yeah, I get that. Sometimes they just need a reminder of what their responsibilities are and company values. And
exactly.
Yeah. Again, you can probably use that. So all of that, you could actually talk about that example, Daniel, if you can think of an example between two members of staff where you might have had to initially use quite a dominant leadership style.
Yeah.
To say, if there's a disagreement, let's say, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen out on the floors of the building or in the cafeteria or whatever. It's going to happen in an office where it's
enclosed space,
where it's private, where it can be, you can work collaboratively to find a resolution. And first and foremost, you can say, look, this is it won't be tolerated, etc., etc. These are the expectations, etc. And you might then say, right, it's here. You're going to give your opinion, then you're going to give your opinion. Everyone's going to listen, and then we're going to decide a way of finding a solution. And then thereafter, you might then use a more democratic approach.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, look,
I was going to say about switching styles up, because obviously at first you need to be assertive and you need to make sure that they understand that this is what's going on, and then once you've listened, then you can understand their needs and accommodate accordingly. Yeah,
exactly. So that alone is quite a good example of how you could adopt 2 or 3 different leadership styles within one meeting.
Yeah, and it's quite. I find it quite often the best way to do that, because then it can get, if you do show sort of a democratic leadership style where you're being assertive, sometimes people can feel like they've got the back against the wall, and sometimes that's not the right approach. So if you mix it up,
depending on what the situation is, or how much of a what kind of argument this is, then that might be needed, or it might not be needed, or depending on who it is that the people that you're dealing with, you might think that response is not going to be a positive one if I take this line. So you'll use your own experience and knowledge of people and situations to deal with that situation.
And read the room as well.
Emotional intelligence is another one.
Intelligence, yeah. Read the room. Make sure that if you are being assertive, see how that colleague or colleagues are responding to that, and then you can adapt accordingly to that, and maybe switch the style of how you're managing to accommodate.
Yeah, excellent. Determination to manage conflict. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. So again, we've kind of preempted what conflict resolution techniques did you use? So you can use like collaborative techniques.
Yeah, emotional intelligence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How did you know your skills were effective? So
it was resolved, and it didn't escalate further. Yeah, that is it.
Yeah, that is it. Okay. Evaluate 2 negotiation and influencing theories or models you use within your organization to manage your supplier relationships. How effective are they? You can use the session 3 e-learning for this, Daniel.
Yes. So I'm guessing this means, so with negotiation influencing, I'm guessing you can use learning styles to choose which is the best way to adapt accordingly, and also you've got leadership styles, and again you can adapt.
Exactly. This is very much just like the last one. It's based on your ability to understand and adopt different approaches to different situations and different people. So absolutely right. Learning styles, leadership styles, communication styles, all of them can be considered when tailoring your approach. What conflict resolution techniques did you use? Yeah, we've done that. Evaluate 2 negotiation and influencing theories. Yeah, they're going to be in the e-learning.
Yeah.
So 3 e-learning on these. How effective are these theories or models? So again, that's all relevant. All relevant to the
e-learning or situation,
people, timeline, flexible approach. So again, we'll talk about the benefit of being flexible, Daniel, not only to consistently just use one leadership style. Generally, people will have a natural predominant leadership style. Now that might be due to their character or personality. It might be due to something that they have to cultivate due to their job role. But generally, someone will tend to use one more than the other, depending on whether it be being who they are or the job that they've got.
Usually it's the person that you are in it, and then obviously you can tailor it to the organization's values.
You can, and as well through from doing other job roles and through working in different roles and in industries before, Daniel, as well. Like what I'm thinking of at the moment, I used to work like years ago. It seems like another lifetime ago, but I used to work in a professional kitchen.
Yeah.
And so in that environment, the kind of the language and the approach that was used was like now.
Yeah.
Because that's what was required in that scenario, and so you accept that it's not it's the best way to get the job done.
Yeah, it's not out of term. It's the best way to communicate effectively in that
It
situation.
is. So I find that quite interesting sometimes with how you have certain personality types or certain characters kind of suit certain job roles.
Yeah.
And vice versa as well, or how you tend to find the same type of people in similar roles.
Yeah. So as I said, I've mentioned previously that one of my supervisors on the day shift who reports to myself, he's got a very, very similar outlook. Really, he's got the same leadership styles, behavioural styles. So when I'm liaising with this particular supervisor, I find it very easy to communicate because he's 9 times out of 10. He's going to have the similar mindset to what I have regarding whatever the situation is.
Yeah, excellent example. Okay. Next one, Daniel, is give an example of when you have had feedback that you must make a change. So we're getting right at the start of the course. We did like learning styles questionnaire. We did
SWOT 360.
SWOT 360. We looked at Yahari window.
Yep.
All of these tools to facilitate feedback. All of these mechanisms to facilitate feedback.
Yeah, so we identified through the SWOT 360.
SWOT.
Yeah, we identified
development plan.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Learning styles. Sorry, Daniel. You talk away, mate, and I'll note.
Yeah, so we identified through the 360 SWOT that one of my weaker points was delegating, and that was a key focus on something I wanted to work on and needed to work on. And this was through constructive criticism from my account manager, who was saying that, look, you take on too much because you want it done right, but you need to put trust in your team and build that relationship and help delegate to help you. So that's something that I've been working on.
Give an example of when you've had feedback that you must make a change. So that was that Yahari window, self-reflective practice.
So
personal development plan, 360 SWOT. Yeah, perfect. So we can expand again. You can expand on those, Daniel, and say, this is what we did. This is how you used it. What was the change? Delegating again. You go into a bit more detail on that.
Yeah.
What was the reason for the change? You mentioned that
it was for business needs to have an effective, positive effect on business needs.
Cost effect, time manage. So you weren't doing everything, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you weren't doing everything. And what was it you said? Ability to trust. Ability to trust in your team.
Exactly.
Which is sometimes difficult, Daniel, particularly if you're new to a business, or if you get a lot of new members of staff in. That needs to be earned. That needs to be built.
Yeah.
First and foremost.
And I think with a team as large as mine, it's great. And being there for the length of time that I have, you do see change quite often. And in times of change, like you say, people have got to first of all learn. So you can't expect them to do these tasks because they don't know the site, they don't know the way in which we perform. So you've got to allow them people time. So that a lot of the time, that's where it come from myself. I was like, right, rather than this person doing that, and potentially I don't want to take him away from learning the core procedures of site, I'm going to do that myself so that he can concentrate on the task at hand.
Yeah, that's a really good example, Daniel. So through training, you were able to oversee that yourself. So you knew that these guys were then going to be able to be capable of doing the things that you did. I think just the way you used the example, if I can remember, just before you went on holiday, you assigned 2 members of staff to kind of carry
Yeah,
out
the two
some things.
supervisors. Yeah, I said I want you
That
to
was it.
be responsible for this, and the
Yeah.
other supervisor, you be responsible for this, and that helped them because they're doing the first line manager course at the moment. So that helped them with their assignment, and also it helped with mine assignment with the delegation, and also it meant that when I come back off my holiday, everything was in good shape.
So I'm just going to write that down. What was the need for the change? How did you respond in a positive manner? So you looked at strategy and tactics. How are you going to do this effectively? And I've said use the holiday example. When you went on holiday, what went well? What was the outcome? But again, from that, they might have then come back to you afterwards and said, "Yeah, it went really well. However, we'd like to go through this
For
with
this,
you again."
yeah,
And then for their own personal development plan and their own learning, um, that's gonna build that trust even further, because you know that they're being they're being comprehensive. That I'm sure you knew that they would be anyway, but
yeah, exactly.
it just allays any fears at the back of your mind. Is it, are they doing it right? Are they for a standards from a standards and quality perspective?
Yeah, I'm quite lucky that one of the supervisors who's on days, he was an area manager before he come back to this site as a supervisor, and I have a very good relationship with him. It's the guy that has a similar mindset to me. So what I also did to non-bias is set him and the other supervisor who has different learning styles and different behaviour styles. I set him a similar task so that also Sultan could help Ewan in my absence.
They could assist each other. Yeah, brilliant. Because you identified that they each have slightly different skill sets, so they could help each other in different ways. In what ways were you adaptable? Okay, so we've covered that,
Yeah.
Daniel, as well. So that is everything. So our little list of what we need to include is evidence of seeking views from others. Check. Presentation you've delivered. Teams meeting and minutes you've created. So an agenda and following up with delivering the presentation to people afterwards so they could check. A report that you created for a meeting. So that is the process that you had to change.
Yep.
Meeting handouts you created. Again, that can be the agenda and the presentation.
Yeah.
Emails demonstrating collaboration, both externally. We explained that. Evidence of sharing good practice. Yeah. Evidence of sharing negotiation skills, plan, emails, feedback given on making a change. All of that we have covered in our answers. So I'm going to save this, Daniel, and pop this over to you on email.
Yeah.
You can get all the stuff that's already there. You can keep if you want to keep it, and then just expand on it.
Yeah.
And then we'll use all of this in our next session, where basically we'll read through it, and that will be our discussion, just like we did with the last one.
Yep. No problem.
We'll also have a quick look at session 3 e-learning as well. Goodness, I think even my laptop knows that it's Friday afternoon, Daniel. It's
just being a bit not playing ball.
It is. It needs to run an update.
Just before we come on the call, when it said Windows I was like, oh.
It's like, no. So yeah, it's wanted to run an update for the last 3 days, but I've not allowed. I'm going to do it tonight at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, mine's saying restart required.
Yeah. Communication, PD, planning. I'm going to call that.
Yep.
Okay, that is basically what we need, Daniel. So I'm going to pause the recording there because this will effectively act as our masterclass. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to save that quickly. And then I'm going to go back to Bud. What is going on? No, it's definitely not that.
Right, sorry.
Okay, Daniel. So I'm having some Teams issues here. Just tried to share one of the speaking. Oh, it's tried to do it again. One of the speaking and listening presentations. You don't need to look at it. We don't need to look at that. Why is it doing this? Okay, so it's just kept on. It's just kept going from last time.
Perfect. Yeah, just come through now.
It's still not as it should be, Daniel. I don't think. So my mouse now isn't working.
You're having some technical issues.
Oh dear. It does say recording started, so I'm assuming it's the same one as we had before. Right. Oh, my camera's just started working again. But I can only see myself. I can only see myself. I don't want to see that.
Yeah, I can't see. I can see you, but I can't see the screen.
Let's go.
Yeah, I can see the screen now as well.
Is that okay? What's it come up for you, Danny? It should be summary session 3 masterclass.
Session 3, yeah, learning instructions and materials.
Okay, excellent. So, right, so we can still use this, and we can still map this in. So this is basically just to confirm what we've just gone through.
Yeah.
In the session. So we've looked at time management techniques previously. We've looked at Eisenhower matrix, ABCDE of time management, and these will also be in the session 3 e-learning as well. So how you prioritize and structure your day. How do you manage tasks? How do you move from one task to the next effectively? And how do you manage the time of your staff as well? We've looked at approaches to planning and prioritization. We've looked at key components of operational planning. We've looked at creating operational plans. We used your new process that you've put into place for that.
Yeah, the ammonia procedure.
That's the one. We've looked at setting KPIs when dealing with staff, and we've looked at how we identified our own learning needs through SWOT 360, through your Hari window, through discussion and learning styles quiz, and how we were able to then create a personal development plan, and how you effectively encourage others to do the same, and how you performance manage staff as well. So through meetings, performance reviews, formal and informal discussions where you can give constructive and accurate feedback, which will allow people to progress their own learning as well. We've looked at business planning techniques, contingency planning as well. When something might not always go to plan, you have to manage risk. We looked at that. Management of information systems, so through email, different styles of communication that you use,
and stuff like that.
That's it. So after the session, it says use a time management technique to work out to create a work plan. Yep, we do that. Keep a time log. Self-reflection. We don't need to do that, Daniel. That's fine. Complete assigned resources. That will be session 3 e-learning, and to continue making notes against the document that we've completed today.
Yeah.
So that is the masterclass on communication complete. Are you happy with everything that we've done there?
Yeah, really happy.
Amazing. Okay, with that in mind, I'm going to pause the recording there.